The door's open. She's like, I need your jacket. I'm like, my jacket? It's like, I'm gonna have to go in and take it out of the thing. And I'm thinking like, what does she want? Oh, the boutonniere, And then as soon as I get into the house, it's like, I'm seeing this massive production
Yeah.
of like what I would have envisioned on a set in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like all these people doing all these things at our quiet little lake house. In like from food prep to photography to videography to this massive tent.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's a building. It's not a tent.
We're discovering all things wedding, from Will You Marry Me to You May Kiss the Bride. I'm your host, Andrea. Welcome to the Bridal Club. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to Bridal Club Season 2. I'm interviewing my own wedding vendor so you can learn from the experts everything you need to know while you're planning your wedding. Now, the difference between this season and last season is that I'm doing it as Mrs. Cole. I got married 4 months ago. This episode is so special to me because, well, I'm not interviewing a wedding vendor. I'm interviewing the same guy that was on my first episode on my first season. We're going to be talking about our wedding, our favorite memories, things that we would change, and of course, tips and advice for those getting married. So I hope that this episode is not only for those beautiful brides to be, but also husbands to be that may want to learn one or two things from us both together as a couple. So say hello again to my husband, Justin Cole. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually excited to see what you respond because obviously we've spoken about our wedding quite a bit after the day, but not necessarily answering these questions. By the time that we launch this episode, it's going to be our 4th-month anniversary. Looking back at our wedding day, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
First thing that comes to mind is really the overall experience. Time flew by, so since time flew by, it's kind of like the first thing that comes to mind is like in a movie when they show like someone's life flashing before their eyes.
I love it. So I often refer to our wedding day as the fastest day of my life. And that I know that sounds impossible, but as you said, it's so true.
Definitely very different than I expected.
In a good way, I hope.
Yeah, the overall experience was great, so.
What was your favorite moment of the entire wedding?
So for me, it all kind of, I mean, obviously the ceremony was great, but it all kind of came together when we sat down, had everyone there, the food was being served, and it was like a kind of culmination of all the work and all the time and all the waiting, so it was great to see all these people who had never been at the same place at the same time before with us and celebrating.
And I agree with you. I feel like throughout the ceremony, again, it kind of like felt like a dream that I was almost like lightheaded in a way. And it wasn't until the reception that I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm kind of like soaking everything in for real now. It was so weird. Let's talk a little bit about the planning and what was that like for you? I mean, in a way, we were not super involved, as in like we were not the ones coordinating all these vendors, and making all these decisions. But in another way, we were obviously still a part of it, and it was very detailed to us and who we are as a couple.
Well, it was great to have a planner.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we're both very detail oriented and ultra busy.
Yes.
So the planning process was, I think, is about as good as it could have been when considering all of the circumstances that most couples do not have to deal with. Entrepreneurship brings a lot of things behind the scenes that you don't see in social media and a lot of interviews and documentaries, so I don't think anything about the planning could have really been much better than it was.
I agree. I remember when we first started talking about planning the wedding, and you thought that we could plan it ourselves. Because, yes, I mean, if you think about it logically, it's like a 30 people wedding. It sounds as though like we could just do it. And it's not that we couldn't, but to me, one of the best decisions, if not the best decision for the wedding was hiring Macy, like a full service planner. It really was worth what we paid for because that alone it allowed me to continue to focus on my business because I have no idea what it would have been if all that time would have been concentrated on wedding planning.
Yes, that was certainly a possibility. but your vision of what the wedding was going to be and my vision of what the wedding could have been were totally different.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone who's seen the pictures and who will see the video will see that it was very, um, very inclusive, very like, um, even though we're both very detail oriented, there was an extreme amount of attention given to the customization of everything, you know. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we could have, and it would have been more stress on our plate, so I'm glad that we didn't have to.
But one of my favorite moments, if not the favorite, was our last dance. And since you mentioned that it was one of yours, why don't you tell our audience why it was one of your favorites too?
The song Imagine is a very famous song. If you listen to the lyrics, it can give you the false belief that maybe it's talking about, maybe John Lennon was attempting to insinuate that maybe there wasn't a heaven because the lyric that says, Imagine there's no heaven,
Yeah.
even if you try, or something like that. And ironic thing about it is that my best friend passed away unexpectedly. He gave me a piece of art that was created by John Lennon, and it was a image of a guy sitting on top of Earth, and then the lyrics to Imagine were there. So I asked Clay to perform that song, and he didn't have it in his catalog, so he had to learn it, but he was a little bit hesitant to learn it and play it because of those lyrics. He's a very religious guy himself, and
Yeah.
to come full circle, the three of us technically emailed about it, that song specifically, in an email later, and he saw the song as I saw the song, and it's not the lyric Imagine there's no heaven is not insinuating that there's no God or no higher power. It's imagine that everyone, everywhere on this planet can get to a point where we feel like we're in heaven on earth.
Right.
And so if you put all that together, the lack of Bryce, my friend, not being there, but the song being performed by Clay. Then he waited until the perfect moment to play it, which was when we were in the reception area close to him by ourselves pretty much, kind of towards the end of the night. Yeah, it was that combined with the deer coming through the property after the fireworks, which is from what we've learned, a sign that a spirit is present. It's like I
Yeah.
get the chills thinking about it and telling the story.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was, it was a magic moment for all three of Clay playing
All
the song,
all
singing the
three,
song.
and something that you didn't mention is that Clay lost his dad a day or so before the wedding. I honestly don't even know how he didn't cancel. I wouldn't have been surprised if he did, but he was there. And that new perspective that you helped him gain through that song, it meant a lot to him to play that song for us too. And another thing that I want to mention about this moment, and one of the reasons why it was so one of our favorites, is because it was not planned at all. While our planner and our photographer, were outside with our guests planning the exit, Kai with John Kane Photography was the one who said, "Hey, well, you wait, just soak everything in because this is the last time that you're going to be here in the reception by yourself." And so we started walking around, and then Clay jumped to the piano and played that song, and you and I just started dancing. So it just became, I mean, again, such a powerful moment for both of us. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And we have photos from Kai, again, one of the photographers that was there, just capturing those moments. And it's just the three of us, like him is at the piano and we were just dancing and our expressions. And it was just so intimate and it was stunning.
Definitely.
Yeah. Ooh, chills. Let's talk about the sparklers.
Well, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing, like you said, it wasn't planned. And one of my favorite things about the lake house is, from when I was a kid at least, it's I still like it a lot, but growing up I always loved fireworks and blowing stuff up. And that particular type of firework or spring sparkler is called a morning glory. And I think that's also the name of a flower, morning glory.
Oh, no way. Oh my gosh.
I think it might be.
Okay.
Um, just another interesting.
Fact. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up.
yeah. I was. The morning was kind of interesting because, of course, I was running a little bit late, and then I had to get gas, and then as you drive out of Dallas into the kind of country area, you during the holidays in which fireworks are allowed to be sold, you start to see signs and stands, and I was like, man, fireworks, cool. Like, and then I didn't stop at the first stand or the second stand, and then I was like, man, we went to a wedding together for one of your friends, and they had sparklers when they
Hmm.
left, but they were just like the regular, white sparklers, and I was like, it'd be pretty cool to not just have sparklers, but the morning glory. For anyone who doesn't know, morning glory sparklers are like shooting, like like they're like more like they could be used as a weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, well, it'll be at the end of the night if we catch on fire or something, we'll just have everyone put us out, you know. And
Oh
sure enough,
my
we both
gosh.
got hit by an ember from the fireworks.
Yeah, one like literally landed inside of my dress, and I like at the end I have a video of this. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't, even though I didn't have time, I made time to stop. I made sure to get enough for every guest to have one. In my opinion, one of the best shots from the wedding, still shots from the wedding, was taken while we were walking out.
Oh yeah, it's my wallpaper on my phone. It's my favorite photo of the entire wedding for sure. I
Yeah.
love it.
Combine Imagine, and then we go right from dancing to Imagine while it's being played live by Clay to this unplanned, um, like tunnel of fireworks that we walked through
Yeah.
to capture that shot at the end was literally picture perfect. You can't really.
Oh, I love that picture perfect. Justin, as you can tell, if you're watching this interview, he's a very serious guy. So he doesn't smile too often, even though he may be happy. But during this day, I mean, he was smiling throughout the entire day. And it was awesome to see you that way. I mean, it was amazing. I think both of us really just enjoyed ourselves, enjoyed both of us as a couple. I think one of the things that I want to recommend everyone, and I can't remember who told me this, but it was one of my brides, one of my customers. She said, if you go to the bathroom, take him with you. If you go to the kitchen or wherever you go, that you're stepping out, go with him because it's so easy to kind of like start talking to everyone, and then you get like all of a sudden it'll be like, oh my gosh, where's Justin? I lost him.
Well, just kind of going off what you just said there. The wedding day was, it was, as far as the weather goes, it was kind of another layer of stress because at that time of the year, you're getting into fall. The forecasts change throughout the week to rain to no rain to overcast, which is what we ended up with, and which is certainly better than rain. One of the moments we had together when we were trying to stick together and while we, moved around through the night was we went out onto the lake, on the dock, on the lake, and we were uh, we were laying there on the dock because the dock's brand new at that point,
This is okay. This is late at night. We went to the bathroom and we're like, let's just go to the dock. Okay. So nobody even knew where we were.
Yeah, yeah, and so sure enough, we look out up, and the overcast clouds had gone away, and there were stars in the sky.
Yeah.
And that was on our like invitation, join us on the lake at Under the Stars. And we were thinking, maybe we're not going to see the stars, and then sure enough, there are the stars. So that's why we laid down on the dock and kind of looked at the stars.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you mentioned that moment. Again, it was one of the most precious moments for me. Like throughout the whole day, because it was just you and me, just relaxed, talking about the day, soaking it all in, and as you said, just like looking at the beautiful stars. Which again, since it's outside of the city, outside of Dallas, you can really see the stars. So it's really magical. Few tips for any husband and wife planning their wedding.
I think I did mention this on the last episode, but it's known worldwide that the wedding day is like the bride's day.
Yeah,
And it definitely needs to be the bride's day, but it needs to be the groom's day too.
I love
So
it.
like, and that's how we ended up with the fireworks and the barbecue and the live music. Those were my three requirements.
And like, I mean, you literally hand selected every single song that was played. You were responsible for that. You did that on your own. I do want to say, look at yourself in the mirror. That's something that Justin and I did not do because everything really does go super fast. In fact, like for the bride and I think for the groom too, while you're getting ready, they tell you like don't like zip your dress all the way up because you want like your mom, to finish those touches just for the photos and stuff like that. Well, when that happened, like that was not just for the photos, that was actually happening. And so by the time that I got ready and the wedding started, I didn't see myself in the mirror. I didn't like actually like soak it in and say like, oh my gosh, this is what you look like today, and which is so weird because of course, whenever you go out for dinner or whatever, I mean, you're looking at yourself in the mirror as you're getting ready, but this time everybody's like doing that for you. So, and I think you had a very similar experience too.
The thing that I can relate the day to is what I've seen in, I've never done any like acting officially, but
Officially.
yeah, like I mean I've never like I mean I did a little bit of modeling when I was younger, but never and I've been in some video clips here and there and some TV episodes and stuff, but nothing like super major production level like you would probably see in Hollywood or something like that. But if I were to imagine what it's like in Hollywood on a major motion picture set, that is the closest thing I've seen to what your wedding day is going to be like. If you plan to the level that was planned for our wedding,
Yeah.
you should like I show up and I'm like I become kind of like the producer of my experience. Everyone's looking at you like you're a movie star,
Yeah, it's so weird.
and um and there were more support staff. There were probably as many or more support staff for the different vendors there and employees of the vendors than there were guests. I drive up, I make the request to clear out some parking. I park my car, and like before I even get to the front door, people are like, "Hey, Justin," and so you imagine a celebrity rolling up to the Oscars or whatever,
Oh my gosh.
and it starts like as soon as you start to pull up, you get out of your car, and automatically people are calling your name, like, "Hey, Justin, what's up?" And in my mind, I'm thinking like, I picked up this salad that I need to eat some of because I haven't had lunch yet, and I want to eat lunch before I end up you know, on stage basically. And then like so that's like in my head. Well, I don't even make it to the front door before the front door opens, and I'm being asked for I think my jacket, which is in a zipped up
Yeah.
thing. And I believe it was Mariah, with
Avant
Avant
Garden.
Gardens, and I'm like, like the door's open. She's like, I need your jacket. I'm like, my jacket? It's like I'm gonna have to go in and take it out of the thing, and I'm thinking like, what does she want? Oh, the boutonniere, and then as soon as I get into the house, it's like I'm seeing this massive production
Yeah.
of like what I would have envisioned on a set in Hollywood,
Yeah.
like all these people doing all these things at our quiet little lake house. And like from food prep to photography to videography to this massive tent.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's a building. It's not a tent that they've put together out in the backyard, which I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
I'd seen some mock-up pictures and this and that. So anyway, it was again, so it was almost like being under the influence of some sort of drug or something, the way that the time flew by.
I agree.
And so by the time that I finally got all dressed and everything, I had no time to eat not one bite of the salad, not one bite of anything else, not even a sip. I think actually I did take one sip of like some Powerade or something like that. So the calories were like 20, 15 or 20 calories maybe. And so by the time I finally walked out of the bedroom I was in to get dressed and out onto the deck where everyone was waiting, which they of course they needed to capture that. Um, I was like, I am like the lead actor in a major motion picture, and I'm not gonna say playing a part because I wasn't acting at the wedding, but that's the experience. Like you're running through all of these different steps that you didn't even think about before the wedding.
Not
Like
at all.
you knew you were gonna have to get dressed, and you knew you were gonna have to go, and you knew you were gonna have to park and all that stuff, but the way it all starts unfolding, it's like boom, 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 like rapid fire. And so by the time I walk out onto the deck, which is in between the house and where the building was constructed for the wedding, um, someone opens the door. I think someone opened the door for me, and I walk out, and your mom was the first person. Your mom was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
Justin, you look great." And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know what I look like
Oh my god.
because I hadn't, as she said, we didn't even have time to look at ourselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know. Like, if you go with a top-notch photographer, it is their job to take a lot of pictures. So you need to plan on that. Like, and sometimes you're gonna have to say like, and the planner has a very, very, very detailed timeline. Yeah, so if you feel like you're gonna feel like you're being rushed on the day of, unless you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast and you add in some time, some 5 minute or so breaks as you're
Yes.
progressing through the day.
Yeah.
Like I've never been married before, so like looking back on it, I would have gotten there 30 to 45 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
I thought even though I was running behind, I would still have at least 30 minutes to eat.
Right.
But no, like it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
like running a sprint.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, you do feel like you're high on something. On
Yeah,
NyQuil.
yeah. I don't know if it's NyQuil, but because I wasn't tired, but yeah, high on, I don't know.
Something.
I don't drink much caffeine, but it was just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Like, um,
Yeah, I mean, this is really why I wanted to ask you, and this is why I was actually really, really looking forward to this interview because, again, we hadn't like, I mean, yes, we've talked about it, of course, but we hadn't like talked about it the way we are right now. So that's really cool. Anything else?
our wedding was inside of this building that I've already touched on. And as you first walk in, there's an area for the ceremony, and then there's a wall, and then behind the wall was the reception area. And my first glimpse of the flowers, which of course had to be a key
Yeah.
tenet of this wedding. My first glimpse was I was walking through the living room in the house out towards the building, and I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of flowers just on the wall. This on the wall, like they're all over the wall. Like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And then as as we got closer, I had just a minute to walk back to the reception area, and it was still daylight, and we set this building up so the back end of it or portion of it was glass or plastic glass. It was see-through. I see the lake. I see this massive arrangement of flowers because we had this long table,
Yeah.
and everything
And you're like, oh my gosh, how much did this cost
yeah,
us?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was like, holy cow. Like, oh my
Oh,
God. Yeah, I mean there were like thousands of flowers,
yeah. Yeah.
But with all that being said, it was like stunning to because we were involved but not ultra involved.
I was super involved with the flowers. I picked every single one of them. I actually went to see them before, when the day before, whenever they were working on the flowers and the arrangements. So I'm so glad you liked them.
Well, yeah, I mean they were very impressive, and so yeah, that experience of coming around and seeing that again, while we from a timing standpoint, we were there when the sun was setting.
Yeah.
We were there right before the sun was setting. We were there when it was dark, so it was timed perfectly to get all these different shots.
Yeah.
Obviously ending with the fireworks at the end. So
Yeah.
if you can take your time and plan your wedding like we did, you can do the same types of things. Like
Yeah.
you can, I mean, I had a friend who flew in from Wisconsin for the wedding, and like he reached out to me a day or two later, and he was just like, man, my heart and soul are just filled with the love that
Oh.
I felt, from being there.
Oh.
Spent a lot of money on a very small wedding, but that investment in each individual's experience along with our own was, as you'll see,
Top notch. It was
it,
really top
yeah.
notch. Even when we had set a budget that was thrown out the window, we really wanted a great experience for everyone, and then we wanted everything to be super detailed. I mean, it was beautiful. So I'm so glad that he said that to you. I don't think I knew that, but a lot of my friends did say that too. Like they just remember it being a dream, and your mom even said that it was one of the her favorite days in her entire life, so that's awesome. My mom did say that too, so
Yeah, yeah, and I guess to kind of come full circle and looping back to one of your earlier questions about the planning and the details, we had custom Kate Weiser chocolates, which I really like. We had obviously the groom's drink, the bride's drink, the menus, the chargers, like the invitations. We put a lot of time
yeah.
and thought into,
Which
and I
I
was,
I can't. I'm sorry to interrupt. I cannot wait for you guys to listen to that episode because we were gonna do just digital invitations, and of course, once we start spending an obnoxious amount of money on this wedding, Justin mentioned that it was important to set the tone right. The first impression of a wedding is an invitation, so please listen to that episode. But Justin, you had a ton of input on that invitation. In fact, I mean, you basically kind of like designed it in between the music, the barbecue, the fireworks, the actual ceremony itself. I mean, you planned all of that. It was very special to me that even though we didn't, as we said, like got super involved in the planning, you as a groom had a lot of input in very important parts of the wedding and key factors of the wedding. So that was very awesome.
yeah, yeah. People who are thinking about entrepreneurship, one of the things I often bring up because it paints a good picture is like if you're gonna do the entrepreneurship thing, you need to think about your favorite restaurant. Like in my case, it'd probably be like a steakhouse or something like that.
Yeah.
And most of the very best restaurants, steakhouses, they have thought about pretty much every detail.
Yes.
I'm talking about like your experience when you drive up before you get out of your car, when you get out of your car, how do they greet you, when you go inside, how long do you have to wait? If you have a reservation, you shouldn't have to wait. When you sit down, how are they treating you? Did they offer you a black napkin instead of a white napkin if you're wearing a dark color?
Yeah.
The detail on the menu, so that's how detail oriented I am.
Right.
And that's again, if someone's thinking about starting a business, you have to think about every single possible detail that you can in order to be as competitive as you can be in whatever industry you go into. And so with the wedding and the planning, I kind of treated it the same way. Like, I want this to be a phenomenal experience for everyone.
Yeah.
And you set that expectation with that invitation.
Yeah.
And the website that you built, the little basic website, it wasn't anything elaborate, but the styling and the invitation was the same styling as the website.
Right.
So it's like,
And that design carried on that custom wall that we had at the wedding and the chargers that we had underneath the plates and so on. So yeah.
so yeah, you've got to, and who knows? Like different people have different goals for their wedding, or weddings. In our case, we wanted it to be an unforgettable event that no
Well,
one who attended it
we nailed it, I
forgets.
think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you wanna do something like that for your wedding, then make a lot of lists and decide, how you want that experience to
A-
be.
And honestly, just reach out to Macy. I mean, she did an incredible job, really. Okay, so last question. What are you looking forward to the most as together as a husband and wife?
One of our goals was to not have anything really change dramatically after we got married. I think most people would say something similar, but my goal was to not be in a situation someday where either one of us regretted the decision that we made.
Yeah.
And so with that comes, in my opinion, a tremendous amount of responsibility.
Yeah.
And I'm 42. I got married, right after I turned 42. And um, the reason that I took so long is because I didn't want to make a mistake. We want to, I believe you feel the same way. Once we've got the companies on more of cruise control, have the freedom to do what we what we want, build a family,
Yeah.
build the house we've been wanting to build,
Yeah, for sure.
build a legacy, massive goals.
I know. Well, I'm so happy that we get to do them together. I think we make a great team.
Yes, me too.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I love you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next episode. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys enjoyed our wedding day story. If you're one of our customers for DBANDREA, we are preserving your flowers, which I hope we are. We would absolutely love to feature your special story on our podcast on season 3. Please email your story at vicky@dbandrea.com. We would absolutely love to hear from you, learn from you, and of course, share your special day as well. Thank you so much for listening. Learn about all things wedding straight from the experts. Be sure to like and subscribe to Bridal Club.